What's up, everyone? It's the Autistic Scyther here, and this is part 3 of my 35th birthday special. Honestly, since we did the first 2 parts, if you're looking for those, they're up on my channel at the moment, so I suggest you watch those 2 first to see this, and then come back for the remaining group of Fakemon. And considering how I made a lot of Fakemon, these are my remaining Fakemon, not just from Antaria, but they're remaining Fakemon. There's some Fakemon that I also did for a few, challenges. Including some from that will be a part of Antaria. So, without further ado, let's get back into it, folks. Alright. Next up, let's talk. Since the last one was Malzola Wraith, let's move on to the next ghost type, that being an Antarian regional variant of Venonat. Which, for in some aspects, I know bug ghost type is first off, we need a new bug ghost type since the only one that we know of is Shedinja. However, I decided to give Venonat this regional variant because, Venonat has not had any sort of attention in a long time. In fact, Scarlet and Violet was the first time Venonat and Venomoth were in a regional Pokedex, since Johto. So, in all fairness, I decided to create a Pokemon, and this is basically with the fact that it was based on a Mothman Pokemon. Surprisingly enough, after I believe either before or after I made this, there was a Pragmagic short which showed a Mothman Fakemon that, honestly, I was pretty disappointed when I saw it because I thought I couldn't even make my own. However, I was told by someone else that it doesn't mean I can't make my own Mothman Fakemon. So, basically, I thank them for the fact that I was able to eventually put this out into the world. Plus, the fact it's called the Dusk Insect Pokemon. Honestly, we've never had a Pokemon with that classification before. I definitely think it needs to change. Speaking of which, I also created a regional variant evolution of Venomoth. This is a regional variant evolution of Venonat that I call Kilomoth. Yeah. I mean, I know this could have been essentially Antarian Venomoth, but in all fairness, I really like this. Since it not only adds the similarity to how popular the story of the myth and legend of the Mothman is in the American South, but in all fairness, it really says a lot once you think about it. Plus, and the fact that this thing would have a lot of fans and possibly festivals and rituals performed in its honor, it's kind of an actual reference how a lot of towns in the U.S. in southern United States have festivals dedicated to the Mothman and as a whole, and kind of looks pretty awesome. Plus, Shade basically gives it I guess when you think about it, I guess Shade would be... I want Shade to have something to do with evasion, but in this case, I decided maybe I might have something to do with Shade, basically, but it might be similar to Bakesher's phase out ability. So I might say it might act like Steelworker and allow both Antarian Venonat and Keelamoth to get stabbed from dark type moves. Who knows? Moving on next, we have Photasm. And honestly, this one's kind of obvious as it's kind of based on not only a phantom photograph, but in this case, I guess when you think about it, it's kind of based on Adam Hartfather from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Her Diamond is Unbreakable, since it's basically a ghost that then hires a lone haunted photograph. Either way, I'm kind of interested to see what this sort of thing would essentially entail, as this looks to be one of the best things. And again, it's Ghost Electric, which the only one that we have is, well, Rotom in its base form, so why not? Now the next one, this one is kind of interesting, but it's an entire fairy type, like, I guess I'd say maybe either, I guess, pseudo-legendary or something like that. But I decided to create it and I called it, and they're kind of based on something called, I believe, Moon People? I mean, it's been a long time since I looked it up, but I don't know what exactly it is. But all of them are kind of interesting, as the first one is known as Lunome, since, again, part of it comes from the name Gnome, so I guess there's that. But the next one is it adds the ghost typing, and it has the name No Mystère, which, while it's a trickster, I think it might be more based on a Harlequin than anything else, which is kind of interesting to say the least. And now that I think about it, the nose looks a little creepy. Yeah. But the more interesting one is Dwarverzerker. And honestly, the fact that this one is, well, the way it is really says a lot. But I decided to create I decided to call it Dwarverzerker. Not only is it based on like a dwarven warrior mixed with a Viking, but the fact that I worked so hard on it having an axes on its wrists, it basically just, I had to continue the Pokedex entry on another page. That's how extra I went with this. Plus, I guess this Dwarven Bride is kind of a version of, like, Berserk or Anger Point. Like, if its defensive stat is lower, its attack stat gets sharply raised. Kind of like how if a dwarf is kind of, well, kind of intimidated, it fights on that harder than ever. And with that, those are the main ones for the Antaria region. But those weren't the end of the Fakemon, because I believe 2 years or so ago, I actually decided to create Pokemon for a challenge, and I actually decided to create several Pokemon for a Pokemon for each day in the month of February. I mean, hence why I started with Crotacow, which honestly was kind of based on National Chocolate Day or International Chocolate Month, which basically it's a coke based on chocolate and snakes or vipers, which is kind of interesting. Chick Lips, which is not only based on which is based on gum, but I believe it's National Gum Day. But it's also, I decided to also base it on a slime cube or a jelly cube. Then there's Dread Baron, who is, yeah, I kind of based it on the Red Baron since it was based on, I believe, National Airplane Day. And honestly, let's just be real. Many of these kind of took some mentions of planning, and I really did a lot with this. Then came Huskurier, which was ironically kind of a reference for National Seed Sowing Day, and I believe, and National Mailman Day. And the fact that it's based on a husky, which had something to do with mail, yeah. I decided to try it out, which was actually pretty good. Then there's Pachycipitate, and okay, let's just be real, many of these were way ahead of February, so while this took some place, it was kind of interesting to say the least. I mean, I never made an elephant Pokemon before, and I say this was my best example. Although I wish it was better, it was my best effort. Then there's Peakindler, which is kind of based on roast duck, but it's kind of based on National Peking Duck Day, which I didn't even know there was a Peking Duck Day, so yeah, this one was funny. And then there's this, which is Radiursa. I forgot what it was, but I know one of them was like International Soccer Day. It had something to do with soccer. But the fact it also had to do with nuclear fallout or something, yeah, that's why I decided to choose a water bear. Then there's Scout Turtle, which maybe in a future region I might bring this one back, since it is too good to leave as a solid one-off Pokemon, so let me know if you want to see this return somehow. So yeah. Then there's Queezerat, which it's not the only rat Pokemon, so yeah. But it was actually kind of an interesting one to say the least. Now, this is one that I was actually surprised was closer to what we eventually got. A regional variant of Drampa. Now, honestly, I made this one on the thought that I didn't think that Drampa was going to get anything too big. So I decided to create a regional variant just to give it something. And surprisingly enough, the fact that we got Mega Drampa and Legend ZA, I have to say I'm surprised. Then there's Porcine, which, honestly, of anything besides things involving weapons, I don't draw stuff involving steampunk aesthetics so well. So I'm surprised Porcine ended up the way I expected. So yeah. However, Bitfly is my absolute favorite Pokemon. And a Pokemon that I really want to find a way to implement into Antaria. I just haven't found any way to put Bitfly into the game, into that idea in some way, shape, or form. Maybe in the near future, if I have an extra amount of Fakemon for after this, I might essentially show this to everyone, so who knows. And the same thing is said for this. Yeah, Arlexton is a Pokemon that I knew was going to be referenced in Antaria. Since I created this on Mardi Gras, and I had Mardi Gras in mind. But I also wanted to add in some other southern United States aspects, so I decided to add in the Flatwoods monster, which is actually based on which was first spotted in Braxton, West Virginia. So, works out quite well. And then came Togeros. Yeah, this thing was interesting because I created it as a, well, I guess I'd say a split evolution of Togetic, but also being a dinosaur, since it's a reference to Valentine's Day. But, honestly, I don't know what I did. It looks like a rejected Barney and Friends character. Yeah, I don't know. Alright, these next ones were... I didn't essentially finish many of these until like the summer, so yeah, they came later. As the next one, Victopotamus was kind of a reference to Vikings and armor, so as well as a hippopotamus. So that's where I was going with it. And honestly, the fact that I had to meticulously create plate armor on its belly really says a lot. Velocitation. Yeah, I created a racing orca whale. Don't know why I did that, but kinda like it. Next we have Galarian. Next, I surprisingly enough went backwards for the first time. I created a Galarian regional variant of Crabrawler based on the sport of tennis. As well as I think something based on a knife crab. I don't know what type of crab I made, but yeah, it fit more so with tennis than anything else. I don't know why. Next is Galvangus, the static cling Pokemon. And this one I actually created it based on a taser, I believe. Because when I saw taser, I thought of static electricity, and then I thought of Angus cattle, so yeah. Yeah. Equimance is a Pokemon that I really want to find some way to remake because I don't know where I was going with this one. This is literally something that freaks me out. I mean, I don't know what others think, but yeah. Not my best cup of tea. Lumber. Honestly, this one was something I enjoyed, but I mean, I'm not sure where I was going with it, but I kind of like it. Magus. Now, here's the thing. I was planning on making a Scandinavian-based Pokemon region, and Magus would have been a perfect Pokemon since it was kind of based on like Harold Bluetooth. Maybe in the near future, I could kind of find a way to implement this in that region. So, fingers crossed. Alright. Alright, with Ristray, yeah, this thing was crazy. As not only does it have a move called Chili Slash, which is a physical grass type move physical fire type move with an enhanced chance of critical hit. But ironically enough, I think this was my way of essentially trying to update Scovillain. I mean, now that we have Mega Scovillain, I'm good, but yeah, I think I might have been disappointed with this thing. Alright, Shibushido. Yeah, I don't know what's with me and fighting dogs, but honestly, this one was something that I really enjoyed. So, yeah, says a lot. It's starting to get dark, hold on a second. There, that's better. Alright. Honestly, this one I had the most to essentially try to search for because Grubake is more so based on a Japanese white-tailed crane, but it's also has the Chochinabake one, so I decided to oddly combine them together. I mean, it took me a while to figure this one out, but I'm still wondering why I did that. Alright, this one. This one was kind of a regional variant of Ursaring. I mean, I don't know why I considered it, but I think maybe I wanted a regional variant. I wanted a region based on Russia, but I don't know how I would have done that, especially with Ursaluna existing. So, yeah, maybe this is still gonna remain a wish. Also, I don't know where I was going. Oop. Alright. This one, yeah, honestly, I just wanted a Minotaur Pokemon either way. And the fact that we never got one with Paldea and Tauros is kind of disappointing, so I think the fact I decided to make this as kind of a wish list when you think about it. Next up is a regional variant based on Zarina. Honestly, I did a lot here, but since it's based on National Chocolate Covered Strawberries Day, I decided to create a variant of Zarina based on strawberries. So, yeah, that's where I was going. So, yeah. Alright. Moving on next, we have Chavaxian. And this thing is kinda another one based on Antaria, since it's based on a chamois deer, or chamois deer. I don't know how to pronounce it. I mean, I initially wanted a Pokemon based on, like, that was like I guess I'd say an invasive species, but I decided to make a Pokemon that was brought to Ontario to help settlers kinda till the land, so one thing led to another, I created it. Now, Chavaxian was the last Pokemon I created, but I remember I had skipped one, so it led me to this thing. Topolimus, the Tooth Fairy Pokemon. Yeah, it's a Mouth Tooth Fairy, folks. I don't know where I was going, but, yeah, I was just kinda... It was before my next one, and I was dealing with a lot of stress, so that's why I had to, make this one. So, yeah. And with that, those are all of my Fakemon. Those are all of my Fakemon from that I have created. Honestly, I know I have to make a lot more, and I gotta find a way to make them, so maybe if you guys want me to keep you posted on any new Fakemon that I create, just let me know in the comments, and I'll possibly find a way to make it. So, with that being said, like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time, folks.